Yeah, man. Hold on for a minute. Let's get right for a minute, man.
Purchase your tracks today.
And my Instagram page. And my Snapchat page. We'll get it back.
See you flossing on Instagram, stay posting on Facebook.
It's the I See What You're Doing podcast. I'm Mr. I See What You're Doing, and as always, I see what you're doing. And we back. Back like we left something. Check the flyer out and the sponsor, powered by Bluetooth Gold. Hard to swallow pills. Chew it, feel it, and own it. Bluetooth Gold for those who need a little bit of extra. You feel me? Let's get right into it, man. First of all, as always, I want to thank you guys for coming and tuning into my show, showing up here every Thursday for the shenanigans, because sometimes it really is shenanigans. Politics is such a great topic for me. That's why I chose this avenue, because I always seem to circle back around into politics. We're that much close to the midterms. States to joining with the FBI to fight against fraud. Supreme Court justices are fighting with each other. None of which is in my outline tonight, but I just wanted to give you an idea on the type of shit that I research and find out every day. I want to go back into a space where I can get you guys to remember what was said and how it was said, and never forget that it was said. And I want you guys to contemplate with me, if you will, a statement that was made about a former president by a current president, and then map out the follow the breadcrumbs down to what our current president is doing, which is the same thing that the previous president is talking about. Had dialogue that I wanted to read to you guys, but shit, sometimes you just have to go off my dome. But anyway, tonight we're asking the question that every American should ask, regardless of political party, when it comes to Iran and our politicians being consistent. Donald Trump spent years criticizing Barack Obama over billions of dollars connected to Iran. Today, Trump himself is facing questions over billions of dollars in Iranian assets. Congress is trying to limit authority to wage war without its approval. Tonight, we're separating rhetoric from documented facts and asking whether America applies one standard to Democrats and another standard to Republicans. Right? So, if you could go back and remember, one of Donald Trump's most repeated attacks against former President Barack Obama centered around Iran. Trump argued that Obama weakened America's negotiating position by allowing Iran to receive approximately $1.7 billion during his administration. Trump described that payment as rewarding one of America's biggest adversaries. I'm going to pause right here. One of America's biggest adversaries. When I told y'all back in 1953 that Iran and America was in cahoots with each other. They were in bed with each other. They were allies. And I also told you that I feel like this is a love respect between two countries, right? And I still feel that way. You know. And the concept is this right here: the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's what what's his name, Ben Yachten or whatever comes in that, and begin to use the American uh, president as a pawn in his game of chess against Iran. And he also frequently referred to it as, while criticizing the Iran nuclear agreement, he referred to that money while criticizing Iran's nuclear agreement. Now, the Obama administration offered a very different explanation. Officials stated that the money represented Iranian funds connected to a pre 1979 military equipment purchase that had been tied up in international legal disputes for decades. According to the administration, the payment resolved an arbitration case and prevented additional penalties and interest from accumulating, kept that money from building up money on interest while it was sitting in American banks. They also argued that it was not taxpayer money by Iranian-owned funds. Now, critics, however, questioned the timing because the payment coincided with the release of American prisoners, leading many to criticize it as a ransom payment despite the administration's denials. So let's pause right there. In this particular situation, there's a lot of different things going on here, right? There's negotiations, there's arbitration, right? And there's negotiations and arbitrations around American citizens being held hostage or being held prisoner, right? And the speculation could be that it was connected to, and I know somebody gonna say later on when I get to my deep down into my show, the speculation would be that the release of those funds back to Iran or in connection to the release of those American prisoners, right? But I noticed something in here that I read that might be something to think about. If it was already Iran's money, right? Whether it was being held up, tied up, or whatever. If it was already Iran's money, right? Then how is that the ransom for the release of the American prisoner, right? Was that the bargaining tool? Is that what's being stated, that it was the bargaining tool? Like, we'll release the prisoners if you free up our $1.7 billion, right? And if that being the case, then I want to go out on a limb and say, well, that's kind of fucked up. But I don't think that that's the case, and I don't think that that's the way that this thing really played out. I think that sometimes you have to be diplomatic about things, and you have to be able to negotiate in a way that's conducive for everybody, so everybody gets what they want. And even so, if that was the stipulation to being able to get the release of Americans who were being held hostage or as prisoners, and I don't know whether America really lost anything in that or any integrity at all, because you're just giving somebody back what's rightfully theirs anyway. So America never did take a loss. If at any rate, if you continue to let the money sit in the bank, the interest on it is supposed to go to the person whose money it is, right? And if that being the case, then whose money are we holding here sitting in the bank and allowing interest to build up on? You say Iran, but is it a country Iran, or is it an individual in Iran, or is it some company in Iran? And we don't know the ins and outs of that, but whose money is it that's building interest in an American bank? If you understand what I'm saying to you. And we know politics, mud slanging and accusations go back and forth across the net like a tennis ball being hit by Serena and Venus or whoever that case may be. But we know what business looks like. Hell, I just told you at the beginning that we know what fraud and money laundering and all of that shit look like too. Majority of Americans don't get to play that game because you don't have enough money to do that, nor do you get an opportunity to play in that arena and living day to day and trying to achieve the American dream. Barely making ends meet or tying shit together don't really work. So, what money do you have to launder in this particular case? Well, we know about overseas accounts and all those type of things. So shit, this could possibly be one of those situations, right? And then the bill, and now we want to give it back to you because we getting ready to go into another negotiation, and we don't want no loose ends and nothing that you could hold as leverage against us. And could that have been the thing that President Obama was doing, releasing that money and giving it back to those people, so that when we have the negotiations that we're supposed to have, we don't want them saying anything or pointing out anything that we've done or are doing to them that make them resistant against our proposal or our negotiations, right? Because we can see on the other end of that what our president is doing right now. Definitely not that. Well, why does this happen? Why does it happen? Let's find out. Why it happened? This payment occurred during broader diplomatic negotiations between the United States and Iran over nuclear activities, sanctions, and prisoner releases. The Obama administration believed resolving long-standing disputes could improve diplomatic relations and reduce the likelihood of Iran advancing its nuclear program. Opponents believe those negotiations rewarded bad behavior and encouraged hostile diplomacy. See why I went and said maybe the forward thinking or the thought of the president then was, let's get all the loose ends tied up so that when we get into negotiations, then we don't have those loose ends to address before we can get into the meat and potatoes of the negotiation. We can go right to the hard stuff and get it out of the way. True. Because it'd be the small stuff that tie up shit and slow shit down. You feel me? Nobody ever gets into disagreements about the big things. We always end up arguing and being at odds over minor, small shit. You feel me? That could have been fixed just like that. Right? Right? Remember now, these are American people that are being held as prisoners in someone else's country. And that was rightfully their money. You saw me start that with that. That was rightfully Iran's money. So let's give them their money. Right? So that we can be on past this shit. We can get out from around this because we got something to take care of. And the bigger picture, a nuclear program that is supposed to be a nuclear program being started in a country that's deemed from the United States viewpoint as they're not supposed to have nuclear weapons. And we know they sit right next door to Israel, and it probably wouldn't be good for them to have nuclear weapons. You get it? I don't know whether they have them, but I'm just saying. Still waiting on the weapons of mass destruction from the Bush presidency. But I digress. Why does it matter? Mr. I see what you're doing. Why would you bring this story up? Because I'm leading into another story, and if you just hold the fuck on and chill the fuck out, I'm gonna get to that. But why do I bring it up? Because I want to point out to you what was being said, and then I want to show you what is being done at this present moment, and you can see how it correlates, it ties together. You feel me? But why does it matter? This issue became one of the defining foreign policy arguments of the 2016 election. It shaped public opinion about Iran and it helped establish Trump's reputation as a candidate promising a tougher approach toward American adversaries. So why was that the thing? Because it pushed forward and it pushed forward an ideology that I'm going to be tough on anyone who's against America. We know that not to be true because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of countries who are against America, and nobody's real tough on that. You feel? Now, our president is not real tough on that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not tough on that. But I beg to differ. So with that being said, right in the middle of that, I want to talk about Blue Chew Gold. Blue Chew Gold is a multi-ingredient compounding sublingual treatment that targets both the physical and psychological components of performance, anxiety, and erectile function. 4-in-1 formula and a little pocket. You can go to the site. You can get a free trial. And after that, get you a subscription, man, and continue to use Blue Chew. It stays in your system for 24 to 36 hours, and it starts working in as little as 15 minutes. So, Blue Chew, man, get you some. And when you do what you do it with Blue Chew. Back to the thing. What does it mean for the American people? What it means? This debate demonstrates how the same foreign policy decisions can be viewed either as practical diplomacy or dangerous appeasement, depending on political perspective. It also established a standard that Trump would later be measured against. It established the standard that Trump would later be measured against when similar controversies emerged during his own presidency. Now, here's some things that you should go think about and research as we push on to the next. Was Obama resolving a legal dispute or rewarding Iran? That's one question. Get your handy dandy notebook and write it down. Did diplomacy make America safer? And third, should humanitarian or legal settlements get resolved or ever be involved in hostile government? Right? So I brought up the first thing because I wanted to jump to the next one. Right? So most recently, our president did something similar to what he criticized President Obama for 10 years ago in 2016, or somewhat after 2016. What is that? Okay. Trump, today, our president faces criticism over reports involving approximately $6 billion and Iranian. What's up, Joe? Thanks, Joe. Joe said national sponsor is very impressive. Congrats. Maybe your show is okay. Cool, Joe. I love it, Joe. I love that, man. I'm trying, man. Really, I'm trying. So I appreciate you, Joe. Shout out to Joe, man. Shout out to Joe. So our president is facing criticism over $6 billion in Iranian oil revenues that were frozen overseas because of sanctions Reports indicate that negotiations involved allowing Iran limited access to these funds under humanitarian restrictions. Administration officials have emphasized that the money belongs to Iran, not American taxpayers, and that any access will be tightly controlled. You see, I had not even got to this yet, but I pointed out the 1.7 billion that clearly they said belonged to Iran. And here's my question about that. If it was a problem when Obama did it, and that was Iran's money, an administration had came to the defense of our president now, saying that this is not American money, this is Iran's money, and we're gonna get them access to the revenues from the oil. But that's a horse of a different color, right? That's a horse of a different color. It's the same fucking horse. Not a horse of a different color or a different horse. It's the same fucking horse. You feel me? One person Obama gave it back $1.7 billion to Iran while there were American citizens being held hostage or prisoner. And the president that we have right now is allowing restrictive access to that oil. Critics argue that regardless of ownership, allowing Iran access to billions of dollars reduces economic pressure on the Iranian government. Supporters of it, MAGA, supporters counter that these are restricted assets already belonging to Iran and that humanitarian limitations prevent misuse. And I just want to stop here and ask you a question. It kind of sounds like the IRS taxes you all year long and then telling you have to wait to get your money. And then once you get the money, telling you what you can spend it on or what you use it for. That may be a terrible analogy after I think about it, but just it's like going to the bank and they tell you you can get only so much money out of ATM, and then go inside and they tell you that you can only get so much money out of your bank account per day. And then you go to wondering what the hell, because how is it that it's my money, but I'm being told how much access I'm allowed to have to my funds? And wouldn't that be a confusing thing? Like, it's my money. And when you just take your money and put it in another bank? And then another question that I have about it is, how is America in control of money from oil reserves that belong to Iran? And if you have control of it, does that not somewhat make you a thief? Or are we just doing what we want to do regardless of what the hell? Regardless of what the fuck anybody say, you know what I'm saying? Like, we want to arrest, we arrest the people and scrutinize the people for fraud and all type of criminal acts, and then shit, the government that we operate under is actually out here, you know what I'm saying, committing crimes and shit. And somebody need, and at this particular point, I might need to go and look at what international law says about what's happening right now or what NATO says about this type of shit. You feel me? And I mean, the minute you find out what NATO says or what international law says, then Trump might pull us out of the World Health Organization and out of NATO and shit like that. You feel me? If somebody says that that shit is not supposed to be happening. But then Congress has a responsibility to this shit as well. You feel me? Congress has a responsibility to this as well. Because if you don't put restrictions on the abilities and what the president is allowed to do, then there's two things that there's one thing that you're gonna get once you combine two things together: a handbasket and hell. And once you put hell in the handbasket, that's where everybody is attached to the motherfucker, to the ship that's just treading water. One that doesn't have to tread water. I mean, for God's sakes, once you find out that something doesn't work or something's not working, then hell, it's okay to come back and say, hey, fucked up, my bad, made a mistake. I take responsibility for that and accountability for that. But then I had someone say to me, you know, say, man, Trump don't really give a damn about the American people. Well, don't give a damn about them, and it's stealing from the American people. And I'm just going to say my rebuttal was in agreement with him, but it was kind of like I was trying to be sarcastic at the same time. You feel me? Like, yo, nigga, to keep it a buck with you, yo, motherfuckers, what is a 36-time felon supposed to do but not give a damn about people? You feel me? Because some of us don't give a damn about nobody but the people that we really fuck with. So there's not a lot of room to complain about that. Does that make it right? Absolutely not. Should we all do better? Absolutely. But I'm talking about when you hold the highest office in the land and you do these type of things, that ring around America's eye gets blacker and fucking blacker. Darker and motherfucking darker. And did you know, just a scientific fact, that light comes from darkness? For you Christians out there, go read your Bible again and remember that the earth was out void, it was dark, and then God said, let there be light. Now, you would think that I meant light, but I'm talking about light means knowledge. And I'm shining the light on some of the dark things on the planet, right? But why did it happen? It happens because diplomatic negotiations often involve economic incentives. Governments sometimes use frozen assets as leverage in discussions involving sanctions, regional stability, and detaining negotiations. Even administrations promising a harder line can face practical diplomatic realities once in office. So, what they're saying is that I'm going to be tough on Iran. I'm going to be hard on Iran. I'm going to make them pay. And then you get in the office and realize that the idea that you had possibly could have been executed prior to you. And then it doesn't work out that way. You feel me? And the proper thing that would have been done was to really research the prior actions of the presidents before you without scrutinizing and criticizing them. Before you go and look at the body of work and really say, minus skin color, skin tone, diplomatic party affiliation, Republican, Democrat, Independent, rattlesnake, raccoon, whatever party you belong to. Looking at the body of work and seeing what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. You feel me? I'm gonna go back and while I'm here, speak about the economic status of America when Bill Clinton was in office, and how Bill Clinton had brought down the national deficit, brought down the unemployment rate. People were working. The company's economic prowess was well, let's just say the country was flourishing, right? And then behind that, presidents behind that kind of put that wheel in reverse. And then Obama comes along and rights the ship again, and then that economic prowess starts to sink again. Can you see the pattern in that? But I mean, hey, all of it don't work. And I mean, I'm not saying that one president has done everything right. I'm just saying, go and look at the total body of work of the presidents prior and see what works. Keep that in place and go and navigate the stuff that doesn't work. In contrast to criticizing those particular presidents and saying what they have done wrong or what you consider them to have done wrong, and then go and do the same thing that you criticize those particular presidents for. Right? Because that's how you make a country work. That's how you make a country flourish. I can assure you, if you righted this ship and gave everybody in this country a fair shot, it doesn't affect the people who already have it. It only makes the have-nots have more and makes the country run better. And give them people their fucking money back without putting restrictions on their money. You feel me? Hey. Now, why does this matter? The controversy raises questions about political consistency. If one administration is criticized for allowing Iran access to frozen assets, should another administration receive different treatment for pursuing a similar approach? Or should we be saying, yo, dude, how the fuck you gonna come out and criticize this man, and then when you criticize him for what he did, you do the same thing, and then you make an excuse on why you did it. You make an excuse and say, oh, this is different. This is not what he did. He did something different than what I'm talking about. Frozen assets, which I wanted to point out to you, are still sitting in American banking institutions collecting interest. They're not talking about the interest. They're talking about the principal amount, because do you know what the interest is on $6 billion? I'm not right in front of a computer where I can find that, right? But do you know what that would be? Yeah, right. But doesn't it sound like that's the same thing that our the president spoke about against Obama is the same thing that he's doing now. And if you look at it, 1.7 trillion is 1.7 billion is less than 6 billion. Yeah, I was in class for that particular math. I can't tell you that I showed up every day to class, but I did show up for the part that said what it looked like when I greater than less than. I showed up for that. You feel me? You know how greater than less than the alligator mouth. If it points to, you know what I'm talking about, right? So I showed up for that class, so I know in the effort to outshine your predecessors, you have to do more. You feel me? Because if you do less, then it makes you look mediocre to the ones that came before you. But this is not a competition. The only thing that's a competition is the actual race and campaign to become president. And then once you get in office, we expect you to do the right thing for the American people. But we do also know that, you got to point out some of the things that you felt is wrong with the president prior to you, because it's going to make you look good. Just like shit. I'm the greatest of all time in boxing. I'm the best tennis player in the world. I'm the greatest golfer in the world. I'm the best fry cook at McDonald's. I'm better than the dude that came before me. That's just how that looked. Football, better quarter, better running back, better wide receiver. I'm better than. But whatever, man. And what does that mean? This debate highlights the difference between campaign messaging and governing. Presidents often encounter situations where the available policy choices are more limited than campaign speeches suggest. More limited than campaign speeches suggest. So those policies that they talked about, they were limited policies, right? It also reinforces the importance of distinguishing between taxpayer funded payments and foreign assets held under sanctions. Now, quick question for a couple of more questions. I hope you still got your notebook. Go out and do the research and find out, is this different from Obama's policy? Is what Trump is suspected of doing right now different from what he said Obama was doing? Does ownership of the money change the argument? Like, does whoever own the money, does that particular determination change the argument about the money being given away or not? Like, if it was taxpayers' money, I'm going to tell you up front. If it was taxpayers' money, then it puts you in a different situation, right? Because when Trump came into office, Doge went through and was finding and looking for misuse and misappropriation of government funds. So if you use taxpayers' money on that, then yeah, you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law, and we would have to be pointing out that was one of Trump's campaign missions, was to drain the swamp and find out who was misappropriating money and who was misusing money, right? So, and my answer to that would be hell yeah. If it depended on whose money it was, does that change the argument? Absolutely. But then we don't have to have the argument, because as far as we know, this particular conversation points to the idea that these are Iranian funds, right? And the only possible thing that we could do with their money is put restrictions on it, allow him to use it, because you can't tell the man how to spend his money, but tell him, like banking institutions, how much they can get out of the bank at a certain time. And maybe you have to tell us what you're using it for, which I'm not going to tell my banking institution what I'm using my money for. And our politicians applying different standards based on party affiliations. Like, the problem was, fuck them Democrats and fuck their president, Obama, or whoever the president was at the time. And this is the crooked shit that he was doing. This was the backdoor underhanded shit that he was doing. He was giving out $1.7 billion to Iran. He was giving them their own money to negotiate with them to get American prisoners back. And I mean, that's some genius shit. If I can give you your own money and not lose nothing at all, and then get my citizens freed from your country, that's genius. If you think about it or not, just think about that for a minute. I don't have to give you nothing, and I don't have to deplete none of my resources to do nothing. All I have to do is give you your money, and you will give me back the American citizens that you have hostage. And why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? It shouldn't be. It should not be a problem for you to use somebody else's resources that they want back as a bargaining tool to get your hostages back. Sound like good fucking hostage negotiation to me by a president who was mentally sound at that particular time and savvy enough to do the job of a president, right? Regardless of whether one agree that he did a whole lot for a certain particular race or whatever the case may be. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, he was savvy enough to identify that he needed to get those particular American citizens out of the out from Iran and from under the jurisdiction out of Iran. And once you do that, then we're gonna give you your money back. And then we still have to come to the table and negotiate on this nuclear weapon situation. Sounds smart to me, but who am I? I'm just a young man who show up here and do this shit because this is what I love to do, like outside of the box thinking. Like, come on. And with that being said, all of the times that I had said for Congress to step up, I even said it inside of this particular segment that I just went over. Congress, the House, has voted to limit Trump's ability to engage in military action against Iran without congressional authority. Lawmakers argued that Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the authority to declare war, while presidents increasingly rely on their authority as commander in chief to respond quickly to international threats, which should have been the case all along. Like, shit, man, you can't let people just run around and do whatever the hell they want to do. I don't like you, so I'm going to pick a fight with you. We going to war. And then you put other people's lives at jeopardy because really, you're not going to war. You sending people to war. And those people got to put their lives on the line, and the livelihood of their families on the line to defend this country. On somebody who's having a dick measuring contest against other diplomats around the world. Because they can't agree on minute shit. Or because I won't let you bully me into some shit. And here's the crazy thing about that. When they speak about a nuclear program, No one has came on to explain to us or given us a schematic or anything to show us what Iran's nuclear program looks like. You can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon, but I'm talking about shit. You blowing up all the evidence that we need to see as American people to verify that this is a threat or not. Right? So what's you really over there for? As I proceed through the rest of this segment, but what you really over there for? Why are we over in Iran? Some supporters of this resolution believe that Congress has gradually surrendered too much authority over military decisions. Opponents argue modern warfare requires immediate presidential action and that delays could place American forces at greater risk. I almost agree with that one. Almost. Because anything in life, you can't play a game. You can't play a football game without two teams. You can't have a boxing match without two boxers. You can't play baseball without two teams. Tennis, golf is the only sport where you can show up by yourself and start playing the game. And I know somebody going, what the fuck, they got to do a war. You can't have war by yourself. Nobody just woke up and said, I'm going to go to war myself. So that means that there's time for you to collect the information, analyze that information, determine what the necessary threat is, formulate the plan, notify America, notify Congress that this is what I plan on doing, and then allow Congress to look at that same information and then say, yeah, we agree with you. This is a reason for us to go to war. Isn't that what those branches are for? Isn't that why it's three branches of the government? Because if not, then what do we need Congress and the Senate for if the president is going to make all the decisions on his own? Right? Okay. Why does this happen? Growing tensions with Iran have renewed concerns that presidents of both parties have expanded executive power far beyond what the founders intended. Congress is attempting to reclaim its constitutional role in deciding when America enters armed conflict. Bravo, Congress. Welcome back to the fucking party. We missed you. Because up until this particular point right here, we have not seen you keep our president in order, keep him in line, or keep the bullshit at bay. And if shit rolled downhill, you feel me? If shit rolled downhill, the people at the bottom is catching most of the shit and the bullshit. You feel me? And that's the only thing that flow downhill. That money move uphill. Because taxes ain't never stopped. None of this shit. 4-day work week ain't never came. Are we still is Russia still at war with Ukraine? Because I ain't heard shit about that. Didn't it just disappear out of the news? And that's one of the things that our president said that he was going to stop on what? Day one. So we down there 2 years in. Right? Right. And I want to stop, but by the time I see it, can't stop, won't stop. Right? And if you can see where I'm going, because I mean, I wanted to take this particular topic and go this far. Why does this matter? This debate extends beyond Donald Trump. Any limits established today will influence future Republican and Democratic presidents alike. It is fundamentally about preserving constitutional checks and balances. Oh, Joe said, would I vote for him again? Vote for who, Joe? Vote who? Quick one. Who are you asking me? Would I vote for Obama again, or would I vote for Trump? I'm gonna move on, but if you get a chance, just drop it in there because I'm trying to. I mean, I wanted to keep it like this here today. Bravo to the Congress, man. Would I vote for Trump? I I didn't vote for him, though, Joe. I didn't vote for him. I will say this, in all honesty. Um, if you had to vote for the lesser, well, shit. If you had to vote in the election and they ran Kamala Harris and Donald Trump again, then I think that the mindset of most Americans, which is fair because everybody's entitled to their political choice, looked at the world and realized who was running the world and who was over these countries, and realized that and felt in their hearts that Kamala Harris did not have a chance of winning. Not that she was not uh, equipped for the job, shit, I mean, but that the vantage point and the viewpoint of most heterosexual men or men that run the country, run the world right now, would not have respected her as the president, which is the failure that Hillary Clinton had. You know, so I'm sure that bro was confident. I know a lot of people are going to say she wasn't prepared because Joe Biden waited so long to get out of the race, and that's true. But sometimes you have to be able to uh, pivot on without pivot at a moment's notice. Feel me? And that's not what happened with that. You feel me? Um, Pivoting at a moment's notice means being ready for everything. Now, maybe some of the answers that Trump gives is not the most savvy of answers and all of that type of shit. And sometimes people catch him off guard. But his pivot is immaculate. You feel me? He got an answer for everything until he don't have an answer for everything. But even when he get irate and he talk shit and storm out of places, the preparation that you have to be able to do that type of shit and the confidence you have to have in yourself and your abilities cognitively and everything, credit where credit is due. From that particular standpoint, immaculate shit happens. You feel me? So, well, no, I did not vote for Trump, and I mean, shit, I'm not afraid to say that. You feel me? Why would I show up here and have the conversations I have? I like I said, I don't totally disagree with all of the things that he said. I just think that shit, some of that shit don't need to be said, and some of the stuff that he does is not well thought out. But I mean, we hear it now, so What does this mean? The outcome could redefine the relationship between Congress and the presidency for generations. It also raises broader questions about democratic accountability and decisions involving war. Discussion. Should Congress approve military action before it begins? These are the questions that you should ask yourself. Have presidents become too powerful? That's the second question that you should ask yourself. And does national security require greater executive flexibility? In the meantime, like I said before, you see it again, Bluetooth. As fast as 15 minutes, you can be ready to go, and it stays in your system for 24 to 36 hours. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to pop one every day. And if you just have to pop one when you know it's about to go down, then Bluetooth. Chew it, feel it, own it. And there it is, Bluetooth Gold. Free membership, trial for those who have never used it. And if you already have an account, switch over to the gold standard. If you know, you know. And then, last but not least, before I go, let me close it out just like this here. Why does this happen? War carries financial as well as human cost. Prolonged conflicts require government spending. Why does it matter? Every defense dollar affects federal priorities, potentially reducing resources for domestic programs. What it means, Americans should evaluate military policies not only through the lens of national security, but also through its long-term economic impact. Tonight's conversation wasn't about defending Barack Obama or Donald Trump. It was about accountability. If we're going to criticize one president for dealing with Iran, then we should apply the same standard to every president. If Congress believes one president's war power should be limited, then the same constitutional limits should apply no matter who sits in the Oval Office. Consistency, not partisanship, is what builds trust in the government. As always, don't just follow the headlines, follow the facts, ask hard questions, and remember, as always, I see what you're doing. Until next time, y'all be easy and be safe out there. See you next time. Peace.
www.enter-effect.com for more info, beats, and designs. Beats available for $30 and exclusive beats starting at $150.
Make them next. Started on with your girls, I do my do. Yeah. So we can all go. Hey man, I'm going in there with this real man. CBR the team.